Boy, that's just gonna be too much. That's not gonna fit. With 5-inch back spacing, you can see how snug this thing is. Really close to the leaf spring, but it's not touching them. We got a 1/2 inch in between there. Plenty of room. What's up, guys? My name is Andy. I want to put on some bigger tires, not only in diameter but also in width on my 66 Mustang. What I've got on here now is some 225 50/16s, and they're fine for what they are, but I plan on upgrading the brakes down the road, and the brake size that I want to go to won't fit the 16-inch wheels. In fact, I have to go to a 17-inch wheel or maybe even an 18-inch wheel. So when you go online, you start to look around, okay, what kind of tire sizes fit in, on these cars, on these classic Mustangs? And because of the fender, well, the inner liner inside the fender here, you could do tubs if you want. You can tub it out. You can do fender lips, but what kind of size will fit in there? And I think part of the thing you need to know is, are you going to roll your fender lip or not? A lot of people have done that or don't want to do that, so that's going to play a role in what tire size fits in there. But also the back spacing is something that plays a role in where the wheels fit. A lot of the wheels that we get for these cars are they tend to be a lot of the same wheel. The offset or the back spacing on these wheels, they don't offer a lot of ranges unless you want to get some sort of custom wheel or some off design that's not as something that that you're looking for. But I'm willing to explore, maybe not necessarily getting custom wheels, but explore the wheels that are offered in the back spacing I'm looking for. So what I want to do is I want to try these on, but how do you try these on your car without wheels and without spending a bunch of money to see what fits? Well, short of going down to a tire store and having them put tires on wheels and see what fits in your car, most shops probably aren't going to willing to just, take up shop time to do that. They might be willing to maybe charge you for that, but that's going to come at a cost, and you won't have anything to show when you're done, right? Other than just your knowledge. And that's going to be valuable. Having the knowledge is important. But another way you can do it is get yourself one of these tire fitment gauges things. These are all over the internet. These things are easy to come by. They're not very expensive. They've got lots of bolt patterns. They'll fit lots of different wheels or lift different cars. And then at this particular size here, I think it goes from 14-inch wheel diameter to 22-inch. Plenty of the range that I need on this car. These are 16s. I'm looking at 17s, maybe even 18s, so this will definitely do that. The other thing I needed to do was get some tires. Now I've got these are 255 40/17s, and that other tire was a 275 40/17. Pretty big tires, pretty wide. They may not fit, some of you guys may already know that, but I was able to find them for really cheap and locally and get these tires. I'm not planning on using these specific tires. I wanted something in this size range to see if this will fit. It's really cheap to buy just a used set of tires. You only need one. I mean, I guess you could buy 2 or 4 or whatever, but then you gotta have to maybe resell them if you want to get your money back. But this was a really cheap option. So getting this gauge, getting some used tires, put this thing together, and then you can also set it up for whatever back spacing. Now right now I've got this set up for this is a 255 wide tire, which you would probably put on something like an 8-inch wide wheel, which is really 9 inches wide. There's a whole story about how the wheel sizes work, and any 8-inch wheel is really a 9-inch wheel. So when you're measuring back spacing or offset, depending on which way you look at it, you need to know what the true width of the wheel is. So I set this up at a 4.5-inch back spacing because that's halfway of a 17 by 8 wheel, 9 inches wide. So with a 4.5-inch back spacing, it puts the mounting surface of the hub in the middle of the wheel, and I wanted to start there, and I can adjust these to whatever I want to do. So I'll put this on here, then I'll put it on the car and see how it fits, and I can go through and I can adjust this stuff to see, okay, if I could fit this tire, but I have to have a certain offset or back spacing, I can figure that out and then go from there. And for a quick comparison, here's those 16-inch wheels I have now with those 225 wide tires and how they fit, and then how they fit with relative to the leaf spring and the tub there. And there's plenty of room, with this wheel set up. So I want to maximize my space. Now, the nice thing about doing the rears first is when you jack up the rear axle, the suspension is already compressed and the weight of the car is on it, so it's going to be essentially ride height, right? So that makes it really easy to do the rears. And just comparing, you can see how much wider this 255 is over this 225. It's a lot of tire. I'm not sure that I'm gonna be able to fit it, but you gotta start somewhere. All right, so that's in there, and wow, let's take a look at how that fits. Oh, that is a lot of tire, and I love it, but look at how close this is up here. So my lips are rolled a little bit in here, but any kind of suspension, like, you know, drop the suspension, sorry, compression when you're driving along, I may get some rubbing in this thing as this, so that's, that's pretty tight. And then as we look at the back, there's plenty of room in between the leaf spring and well, it's kind of hard to see. Move the light up here. You can see how close the inner tub is with the tire. I could bring the tire inboard a little bit, like maybe do, I'm at 4.5 back spacing. I could do 4¼ inch back spacing and still have plenty of room back there. So, you know, looking at that, I think I could easily take 1/4 inch, probably even 1/2 inch off that back spacing. So a 4-inch back spacing I could do with an 8-inch wheel, and I think would give us a little more clearance here. So 255 40/17 I think would be an easy fit for this setup. But this 275, let's take this off this template piece and put it on here and then see if we can fit this in there. Okay, I got this bracket adjusted and put in this larger tire, and I also adjusted the back spacing by 1/2 inch. So we've got a 4-inch back spacing between the mount plate and which would be the edge of the wheel. And let's see how this fits. Yeah, see, I'm already having a hard time getting this tucked underneath the fender lip. Yeah, see, boy, that's just gonna be too much. That's not gonna fit. Let's take a look at that with the camera. Yeah, see, now this one, this is just, it sticks out too much. If you look down you know, that's not really the look I'm going for. I don't want it to be sticking out that much. I'd have to definitely put on, you know, some wide body fender lip thing or something like that. So we know that 275, let's take a look at the back spacing and see how that looks. Yes. If we come underneath here, looks like I actually went the wrong direction. It looks like I'm farther away from, I'm gonna have to double check that. Maybe I went the wrong direction with that back spacing. Yeah, I'm an idiot. So I had 4-inch back, I wanted 5-inch back spacing. I was going the wrong directions. With 5-inch back spacing, you can see how snug this thing is, really close to the leaf spring, but it's not touching. We got a 1/2 inch in between there. Plenty of room between the inner tub and the edge of the wheel. There's probably 1/2 inch space there. So 5-inch back spacing on a 8-inch wide wheel will work, particularly with this wide a tire. And look at how close it is in the front. I don't know, maybe a 1/2 inch. I guess you could bend that lip out if you needed to, but 5-inch for sure will work. We're pretty close to the leaf spring too, but you might be able to get away with 5.5 inch back spacing on an 8-inch wide wheel. This is pretty close. It is sticking out a little bit, just ever so slightly, but I'd have to do like 5.25 inch back spacing or something like that to get this so it doesn't touch on here. I don't know, guys. I want a wide tire. I want all the grip I can get, but I'm not sure I want to put on like a fender lip yet. I haven't decided what I want to do with that. Well, now we know what the back's going to look like and how that's going to fit. Let's flip the car around and let's see what this looks like on the front. Now I'm gonna just go ahead and start with the wider of the two tires. I know the tread's not facing the right direction. It doesn't matter for just seeing if it fits. I could just throw it on there. So we'll get this guy off, get it out of the way. Gosh, isn't that crazy how much skinnier this 225 is compared to this 275? That's awesome. Okay, again, this is with the 5-inch back spacing, and we'll see what we get out of this. All right, now this is where it gets tricky. Because the car's jacked up and the suspension is dropped down, we're not getting a good sense of how this tire fits up inside here. So I'm gonna have to jack up the lower control arm to show that. Also, we also have to pay attention to the turning radius of everything. So when you turn the wheel lock to lock, the things will still clear. As we come down here, the first thing I'm noticing is how close that steering linkage is to the tire. That is incredibly close, and it might even rub. But everything else, yeah, up here, that upper control arm, that's just not gonna work. Let's see if I can get better lighting. Look at that. That thing is sitting in the indent of where the wheel rim would be on this tire. So 5 inches, gosh, there's no point doing anything else because we just know that 5-inch back spacing isn't gonna work on the front setup with these really wide tires. Actually, it doesn't matter that it's really wide. It's the 5-inch, if the tires were skinnier than this, 5-inch back spacing would still put the inside edge of that tire where it is. So I'm gonna have to change the back spacing on this for sure. All right, I adjusted this, so now we're at 4.5 back spacing, and let's see how this fits now. All right. We're getting closer to this edge here now. I have some negative camber that I run on my setup, and I could also go a little bit more if I needed to, but I think we're gonna find that this tire, this 275 tire, is just too wide for what we're doing in here. And we can see, as we're looking through here, that steering piece on the knuckle there, that it's clearing the wheel if the wheel was sitting there. So we're good on that part. You know, looking down the side, you know, we're pretty wide with this tire. And then coming in here again, you can see that steering knuckle here. Let's see back there. We're pretty good there. And then the upper control arm, we're clearing it, but it's really, really close. Really close. You know, I heard that with 18s, the diameter of the wheel is such that you can sometimes get on top of the upper control arm and clear it. So then you got a lot more, you know, inboard. You can take the tire, but okay. Another thing that we want to do is turn the tire through the range of motion that it would go when you're steering the car. And you want to see if you hit anything like I am back there. That right there is actually the wiring for my battery cable to come up to the front of the car. You can see how it's kind of notched out there in the frame. That would normally work for a tire turning, but I don't know, I'm thinking that even a 4.5-inch back spacing is not going to be good enough for this car. Boy, that's the only thing that's touching, but dang it, that's really close. And if we turn the wheel the other way, all the way to the lock to the other side, we're not having any problems hitting anything on this side, even the front here where that would touch the front lip of the fender. And we've got some room in there, but I'm gonna turn the tire back and see how close this is to touching that. Yeah, see, it's really, really close. I have rolled the lip of my fenders here. If anybody was gonna go really wide tires, you'd have to do that as well. You might be able to adjust the strut rod a little bit to push the tire backwards, and that would give you a little more clearance, but it reduces your caster, so it's a trade-off, right? If you wanna clear this part of your bumper, you're gonna lose caster if you need to make it fit. I'm thinking that a 275 is we're just trying too hard, right? We're just trying to make this thing fit. Gosh, I mean, it almost does. I'm wondering if maybe that 255 would just be a better fit for everything. Let's put that on the little rack, on the template thing here, and let's see how that fits. All right, so here's that 255 wide tire. We're gonna keep the back spacing the same at 4.5-inch back spacing, and throw this on here and see how it looks. Yeah, I can already tell we've got a little bit more room here. Things are clearing back there. I bet we don't even need to turn the wheels because I know that this is just a little bit skinnier tire, so this won't bulge as much when you've got it full turn, full lock. Yeah, if you're looking down the front side, I mean, everything, it's gonna be fine. I think this tire would fit just fine. And looking back here, we're really, really close to the upper control arm. I don't know what happened there. We got the same back spacing, but I'm gonna have to explore with this tire setup. So this is probably a good place to stop with this. I'd like to keep a square setup as much as I can. Partly I want to go for the looks, like a lot of us and the things we do. We want the car to look a certain way, but I also want it to perform a certain way, and doing wider front tires, sticky tires, is gonna go towards the direction I'm trying to go with this car. I need to find something, and this is what's great about this tool, is I can kind of play with the back spacing and see what fits. And I did disconnect the sway bar so I could jack up the lower control arm to get this tire to tuck inside, but it's compressing the spring too much, and then it's actually lifting the car off the jack stands. I'm like, well, I don't want to disconnect the shock, the coilover in here, and then so I can fully try. I can just tell already that as this thing goes in its motion of travel, it's actually going to pivot up and kind of lean in a little bit. With this tire and this setting just right here, I'm sure we're going to clear. Like I said, I'm not sure if I want to do something with those, like an extended fender lip or something like that. I'm not opposed to it, but I got to cut up the fender and then get the car repainted, and that's just adds to the cost of all this stuff. So I got to figure that out. So for this, I think this is a good place to just kind of stop. I can play with this tool. I can adjust the back spacing because of some of the, like one particular wheel I'm looking at. I think it has 1/4-inch increments for back spacing if you want to order a custom set, and of course it makes it more expensive, but I can dial in the perfect back spacing for this. But I know so far that we found that 275/40/17 with a 5-inch back spacing looks like it'll clear back there, and that includes with the rolled lip on the fenders back there, the quarter panels, and then I might have to bang that lip inside the tub a little bit, but it's not going to touch the leaf spring, and so that would fit back there. One important factor I forgot to mention is that I run run a panhard bar on my car, and this keeps the axle from moving laterally side to side. So because of that, I can get away with a wider tire and wheel, because I'm not going to have that flex that the bushings and the leaf springs give you under hard cornering, hard loading. So I can put a really wide tire on here because I'm not going to rub on anything because of that. So just a heads up on that. I did notice, as I was messing with this, that this thing clears this front fender lip. Now it does, because it's curved and the tire's curved, when this is tires up inside here, it actually would fit a little bit better. It looks kind of different and off with that, how it sits like that. But anyway, so guys, this was just, one of the things where I was going to go through and I want to try to find the tire size that I can do and the wheel backspacing I need to do for my car. And I figured maybe take you guys with me on this and see if any of this helps you guys out. I know there's a lot of information out there on what tires fit, what backspacing, but people have different suspension pieces. There's another thing that matters is the tire. For example, I'm going to be going after more performance oriented tire, and they tend to be wider than like an all season tire. These ones right here are a 560 tread wear, A traction, A temperature rate. So these are more all season than performance tires. This is a Proxy S4 Toyo tire. I'm not putting this on the car, but it was cheap, right? And it was the size I was going for. And I knew that this is going to be closer to, like I run those Falcon, this guy right here. These Zenith 615s, I think what I have on here. Yeah, the RT 615K plus. So something like this, that's aggressive like this. I may even go more aggressive, but these tend to run a little wider right here than an all-season tire. So I wanted something like that, a little more performance. And that other tire that I was using, that Extreme, this Nitto 555 Extreme ZRs. Again, I'm not going to run this specific tire, but it is a nice wide tire because it's more performance oriented. So it's going to come in closer to the size I'm looking for. I don't want some all season tire that's going to be 10, 20, 30 millimeters skinnier than what they're advertised, because the sidewall rolls up so much before you get to the tread patch because it's so skinny up here. So that's one thing that's important, because as this is more of a square edge, it will fit different with the fender lip or the quarter panel lip than an all season tire. That's why I was going with something like these. So that's it, guys. I wanted to figure out what I could find out about this and pass this information to you guys. Ultimately I'm going to pick a tire and wheel size that's going to work, but I can dink with this a little bit more and kind of tool around with it and see what I can come up with for the the most tire that I can fit underneath this car without making major modifications. Anyways, all right guys, that's it. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up, and if you subscribe, I appreciate it because it helps my channel out, and we'll see you in the next one.